And we are back. Peace and greetings, peace and greetings, peace and greetings. Is my mic on? Is my mic on? Thank you so kindly for tuning in to Each Way is an Experience Mental Health Podcast. Don't think too hard. So today is going to be another great conversation with ElHajj Saladin, and we're going to be talking about the restorative spirit and how we carry 15 to 20 years, 15 to 20 generations, 15 to 20 generations of our ancestors, pain, trauma, memories encoded within us. So sometimes we wonder why did I have that feeling, or certain behaviors. You wonder why you just can't let go, or it just keeps coming up as a repeating cycle. It's because our ancestors' DNA is encoded within us, and for the last 15 to 20 generations. So before we start, I gotta say, I gotta give my disclaimer. You're gonna see me laugh, you're gonna see me cry, you're gonna see me make mistakes. For instance, I live by the airport, by JFK Airport. So my internet is jacked up. My connection be jacked up sometimes. But that's what happens when you have a message to deliver. Hey, but I'm still gonna get the message out. For those who have an ear, let them hear. And before I start, I have to say a prayer. When I do this podcast, I'm coming straight from work. I get up for work about 6:15, 6:30, and then I have to race all the way here, jump in the shower right quick, then log on. So it'd be just crazy in the background. Even though I would have everything set up, I still have to get me together. I have to get my energy together. So let me just say a little prayer just to move and decompress myself and get my mental health together. I need to do. I need to do. I have to do. Thank you, Most High. Thank you, Most High, for this opportunity to be able to speak to your children. Thank you, Most High, for the wisdom. Thank you, Most High, for the courage. Thank you, Most High, for the bravery. Thank you, Most High, for the tenacity to get up and still do it every single day. And may the words resonate to your children, even if it's just one person. Please protect us from all dark entities, from all dark energies. Close all the doors to the bad, open the doors to good. May this podcast bless someone as it has blessed me. I have found so much healing doing this podcast, creating this podcast. And I just want to say thank you so kindly for gifting me with this vision to be able to move forward and have the courage to get here each and every day, no matter what the challenges may be, to bring forth the message. And I want to say give thanks. Ashe. Yeah, we go out in the world, we pick up things, we pick up energies, we pick up all kind of low vibrational energies. So I just had to digress right quick. I just had to get my energy together because I didn't have the chance to, because I'm so committed to this podcast. I rush here from work. I jump straight to the shower, change my clothes as fast as I can, sit down, smudge my house, bless the house as fast as I can. I have my children helping me. I want to say thank you to my children, Jakai and Jameer, for always helping me. I always call them and say, okay, I'm coming home. Tonight's the podcast. Jameer smudged the house for me. He even put the on the charcoal and smudged the whole house. My daughter got my jewelry together, pulled out the makeup bag, got the crystals all around me. Jameer changed the water so I could bless the house. So I have to say thank you. This is truly a community, and I could not have done this podcast these last few evenings, these last few Thursdays without them, my babies. So I want to say thank you. Also, another disclaimer: if you see my birds in the background, please forgive me. They want to be here. Y'all know I'm an open book with certain things. Anybody that know me know that I'm getting over a fear of birds. So in order for you to get over your fears, you gotta face them. So I went and got two birds, two white birds. My babies again. They're helping me. They said, you could do it, mommy, you could do it. They pushing me to feed the birds, to touch the birds. I even changed the water one time. But when I touched the bird, I said, I touched it. And for me, that's a victory. For me to even have birds in my house, that's a victory. But that's my own mental health gripe that I'm getting over. And let me tell y'all something. What I have learned on this journey is that um everything on the other side of your fear is nothing but greatness. I had to push through so much fear and so much turmoil. I was so scared a few years ago for a lot of things. And I just kept hearing the spirit say, everything that you want is on the other side of fear. And ever since I've been getting over that, it has been nothing but greatness. Yes, I still have challenges because when you are on your path, those low vibrational entities and energies do not want you to succeed because you cannot be their host anymore. And I used to have such a terrible fear of public speaking. Like I said before, with the sweating, nausea, going to the bathroom, throwing up, can't speak, words tighten up. Now look at me. I have a whole podcast. So moving along, I digressed. Without further ado, we're gonna bring in my mentor. He has been my mentor for over 20 years. Um, he has been such a pillar in my life from the moment I have met him. And I am so grateful that our paths had connected and we are still connected with each other to this day. Um, he's a wonderful man, and I look at him as a father figure. I'm so grateful to have him in my life. So without further ado, we're gonna bring in to the stage brother Saladin.
Thank you for those warm comments. And I must begin all things. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. Beginning this podcast, I have to give honor, respect to the person last week we spoke, because she had a name. We call her Hottentot Venus, but her name is Sarah Bartman. I have to make that clear because we have to give her an identity because the social structure made a circus out of her, literally. So I have to give honor and respect to that black woman, that queen that was formerly buried back home in South Africa. Well, I have to also give credit to those who brought to the stage, or scholarship, I should say, about the Kemetic history. The first one is Dr. Diop, Anthony Diop, Dr. Obenga, Dr. Ivan Van Sertima, Mr. J. A. Rogers, Mr. John G. Jackson, Gerald Massey, Mr. Anthony Browder, Dr. Asa G. Hillard, Dr. Henry Clark, and so many others. And I would be short of saying, if I don't mention him, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, who brought about a lot of students here in the wilderness of North America, highlighting our traditions, that we were enslaved and we had a history. We were the first ones to have thought, the first ones who built great civilizations. We know all of that, many of us. Some of us don't know that. And now there is a war going on of ideas trying to change the curriculum in many of the school systems. We have a battle going on our hands. But the title of this podcast today is Restorative Spirit. When you restore something, you bring something back to health, to strength, a feeling of well being. Well, have we truly done that? We went through over 400 years of enslavement. And then in 1865, they said, you all can go. but was we really restored? There are some people that say, well, the 13th Amendment of the Constitution and the 14th Amendment and the 15th did all of that. Well, if it did all of that, why are we still struggling? Our soul. You could write a document, the US Constitution, the Bill of Rights, but you have not restored the soul of a people. They couldn't do that. It required the very authors that I just mentioned to restore that. We have to restore that based upon a knowledge of our history prior to the 1400s. We have to mention that because anything from 1619 to the present seems progress to us. But we have to go back. We have to soul search. We got to go back before they put their hands on us. And being that they turned us inside out, made us into animals. And then when they let us go and say that we're free in 1865, they wanted us to catch up with them, meaning the Europeans here in America. They had a head start. And I'm going to read a portion of this book called The Brown Americans, written by Edwin M. Edwin R. Embry. I'm just going to read just one paragraph, a short paragraph. Henry Berry, speaking in the Virginia House of Delegates in 1832, that means we were still in bondage, described the situation as it existed in many parts of the South at that time. He's speaking to the delegates, we have, as far as possible, closed every avenue by which the light may enter the slave's mind. If we could extinguish the capacity to see that light, our work will be complete, and they would be on the level with the beasts of the field, and we should be safe. I am not certain that we would not do it if we could find out the process, and that on the plea of necessity. So this gentleman said that he and his cohorts was trying to close out every avenue that could get to the slave's mind. Well, if we've been in darkness, how do we receive the light again? We have to get the light based upon the knowledge of self, the knowledge of our history, the proper relationship to the creator, who's the creator of all life. That's about restoring. It's almost like when you have a building that's in disrepair and you say, I want to restore that brownstone. I want to restore that. What do? You make the necessary changes in restoring the building. You may have to maybe destroy it and then build it back up. You have to replace something that is rotten, that's no longer useful, and repair it. Well, some of the knowledge that we receive in the educational system need to be done away with. And I don't know about you all, but when I was coming up in school, they said that Christopher Columbus discovered America. Now, if you spoke contrary to that, or you answered with the wrong answer, you're going to get a wrong answer. That was then. Now they have brought about changes. Now, many youth today are not going to accept that. Many parents are not going to accept that Christopher Columbus discovered America. A lot have changed, but we have a lot. We have a lot we have a lot. Excuse me. We have a lot to achieve, and we have to struggle for. And the only way we can restore ourselves is by looking inside of ourselves. We cannot trust in television. We cannot trust certain institutions to give us back what God has intended for us. To restore means now we have to look inside of ourselves and bring about a new person, a new being. And that's what we have to do, brothers and sisters. And those authors that I mentioned, and there are many other authors, they was trying to restore what was taken from us, our history, our value as human beings, that we were the first ones with thought. We were the first architects, the first embalmers, the first people who knew mathematics, the first ones who looked up into the heavens and saw that the heavens was us and we were a part of the heavens. So we have to restore ourselves. We have to do some heavy lifting. We're going to have to go out and buy books. I can't make it any simpler than that. We have to read. Most of our great scholars were trying to press us to read, to re-educate ourselves. Dr. Carter G. Woodson is another one. Many of you know he started Black History Week and then it became a month. Dr. Carter G. Woodson was saying that basically, one of his books said the miseducation of the Negro. He said we were miseducated. We have to re-educate ourselves. We have to restore the glory of the past. There's some things that we got to do, brothers and sisters. Sometimes we got to turn off the TV. And we have to be the example for our children, our grandchildren, because if they see us watching TV all the time, they lose the motivation for learning, the zeal for learning. We're never going to know it all. No person knows it all. And we should try our best to educate ourselves. Many of these scholars, and there are many more that I listed here, paid the price. Some of them even lost their sight doing research, reading in dim lights, traveling all over to the continent and all over the globe, proving that we were the first people here. So I don't want to prolong this dialogue because I have the Empress here, and I know she has some questions, and we need to just have a discussion with the podcast, with the people that's listening. But readers are leaders, and leaders are readers. Thank you. Thank you. I don't hear you. Yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
like I said, you're gonna see me make mistakes.
No, no problem.
I'm doing so
Nobody's
much behind.
perfect
I'm doing
here.
so much behind the scenes. I'm a one woman show, and that's why I created this podcast. Like I said before, and I had to repeat it again for for the people that's new to my channel and new to my podcast. I have built a prison around perfection. A prison.
Mm,
So if I made a mistake, I will go behind the scenes and beat myself up. And sometimes I wouldn't even get a mission started or execute anything because I was so afraid that it wasn't going to be perfect. So now I love mistakes because this is real. This is real life. So shout out to everybody that's tuned in. Thank you so kindly. Um, we have a question from Bilal Shabazz. He says, "Greetings. What we talking about restoring? Can you give me an approximately how long it would take for us to get restored?"
wow, that's a good question. Well, we have to start out young because when you start out young, your mind is fresh. You don't have all of the misinformation if you're 10 years old. You only been on the planet 10 years old. The difficulty is when you've been here 30, 40 years of your life biologically, and now you got to make uh, the appropriate changes spiritually to make it happen. It could be done, but most leaders go after the young because they understand young people, they don't have all these worries. They don't have to worry about a mortgage, a car note. They don't have to worry about that. Most revolutionaries appeal to the young because young people, they have that zeal. They don't have all this fear that if I say this, I'm gonna lose my job. If I say this, my pension is in jeopardy. They don't have that issue. So to answer Bilal's question, start where you are. If you are 40 years old, if you are 50 years old, start there and know that you have a journey ahead of you. And you got to keep your heads in the books because you got to understand if you've been on this planet biologically 40 years, 50 years of your life, and you've been in darkness, How do you restore yourself? Well, you begin right then, but you also have to look back 40, 50 years of 40 or 50 years of your life, and you probably didn't do anything substantial spiritually. So you start there. So if you've been here 40 years, you're gonna have to put some work in. At least a minimum of 7 years. A minimum of 7 years of constant study and research. I hope I answered that brother's question.
Yeah, I would like to add to what you said about start with spirituality. Again, please excuse my dog in the background. Like I said, here go the mistakes. And he is
There you
very
go.
vocal. Jay Brooks know what I'm talking about. I named this podcast Don't Think Too Hard. That's a dedication to my uncle. He's an ancestor now. He passed on a couple of months ago from cancer. And that's his dog. Before he passed on, he actually take care of his dog. He ain't tell me that his dog was old yeller, but we gonna keep this moving right along. And also for
Right.
the newcomers, please excuse the connection. I am by the airport. I have all the high tech technology, but the airplanes and that airport is doing its own thing. Moving forward. So when you talked about uh spirituality, um that was the beginning of my healing. I didn't realize how spiritually hurt I was. Going through that dark night of the soul, to have to relearn everything, that to have to unlearn and then relearn, that was a like an incognitive dissonance that I had, and that was a challenge within itself. But what I will say, the more I did the work, the more that I went deeper within myself, the more that I had to accept um the darkness, the more I had to accept the things that I was holding on to, that wasn't mine and didn't belong to me. The more that I accepted, the past, the more that I accepted the journey and was able to, oh, we got a caller, the more that I was able to accept the journey. Hold on one second, sister. Hold on one second, sister. The more that I was able to accept me, and to understand that no one's perfect. No one's perfect in this world. And I used to beat myself up because of the journey that I had in the past. I used to beat myself up and belittle myself because of the things that I didn't know. But like you said, you have to start from where you are. And then just to start from where you are, you have to hold space for yourself. When I had to start from where I was at, early in my age from the 37 to 40, that caused more anxiety because I felt like I was behind. And then once I accepted that, began to heal. And once was able to do the Egun work, the ancestral work, my ancestors came through and was giving so much downloads. And my ancestors said, it's not you. This was passed down to you. You was chosen to heal the bloodline. And I always say that about the womb trauma. Our trauma is passed down from womb to womb to womb to womb. Women hold all their pain in their womb. So our ancestors was not able to practice their spirituality because they was ostracized, so they had to hide behind certain saints and things of that nature. So moving forward, I had digressed a little bit. Like we said, the restorative spirit, our we are holding on to the pain and the memories and the trauma of our ancestors for the last 15 to 20 generations. So what I would say is start with your ancestors. They have all the answers for you. They have the medicine for you. And also, don't put a time limit on it. For some people it may take a lifetime. Some people it may take a few years. But it depends on what you came here to do. If you came here to heal your bloodline, it may take a little bit longer. So don't put pressure on yourself. Don't put a time on yourself, because once you put that time on yourself, then you're putting yourself on the clock. And we all know that time is, really doesn't exist. It's actually a construct. So don't put that weight of time on you. Take your time. Enjoy yourself. Be in the present moment every single day that you heal. That's what I had to say about that. Brother Saladin.
Okay. Well, you're absolutely right. I agree with everything you just said, right? I have no argument there. But, sometimes we waste a lot of time. And the older we get, we value time because we realize we have very little time to be on this planet. Life is sometimes like a car. You can't drive a car, keep looking through the rear view mirror. You got to look ahead. You, from time to time, may look at the rear view mirror to see traffic, behind you, but you can't live your life like that spiritually. Always thinking about the past. You got to look forward. And our leaders, spiritual leaders, historians, they wanted us to look forward for the future. But you can't look, it's like Sankofa, remembering forward. Sankofa, that word Sankofa means remembering forward. We may say remembering the past, but that's like the rear view mirror. Remembering forward. We must move forward. But you have to have a mission and a sense of purpose. Because if you don't know where you're going, how can you lead others? And some of us have been misled by people who purposely have confused us and misguided us. But it still comes back to us. We must do our own research and read. We must re-educate ourselves because some of us are relying on religious leaders, political leaders to do all of the heavy lifting for us. And we just stand on the sidelines. So, yes, it's about restoring you. You have to do it. Get the necessary books, realize I wasted time, and move forward. Don't keep looking through the rear view mirror because you can't drive a car like that. You can't drive a car just keep looking through the rear view mirror. You have to look forward. Remember, remembering
So
forward.
I
Yes.
have a question.
Yes.
So being out, we talk. So remember, we're talking about our ancestors and the restorative spirit. And what do you think about the pineal gland as far as restoring one's spirit?
Well, the pineal gland is at the center of our head. It's really the third eye. But the social structure,
Hmm.
they make light of it. But our ancient ancestors, particularly those in Kemet and the ancient Egyptians and the ancient masters, knew that that had to be developed. Well, the scholars say that the pineal gland has to be developed early in life because eventually it closes by the social structure, by the environment that we live in. It's like if you eat a lot of junk food, you're gonna think like you basically are what you eat on the physical level as well as the spiritual level. So the pineal gland or the pineal gland is so important because that's where the maturity evolves. And at one time in the criminal justice system, particularly in America, they didn't hold youths accountable. I'm talking about criminally or maybe civilly as adults because they said they haven't developed yet. And so you may get arrested and they may charge you as a YO. Many of you know what that means, youthful offender. And they would expunge your record when you get a certain age because they said to themselves, well, he or she was still evolving. They were not mature enough yet. They've done away with that now. They're charging youth as adults. But those in psychiatry and psychologists and sociologists know that that pineal gland has not fully developed. And that's why it's so important that our youth be in the hands of men and women, teachers, spiritual leaders who are responsible in molding and guiding us. But in America, there were only a few leaders that was able to reach our young people. And many of them, when I say many, they're not they're not even five fingers on our hand. But they met their untimely death because they understand the social structure and
Mm-hmm.
the enemies of the rise of our people know that I must do away with this with young people, with that generation. Because if I allow them to thrive and flourish and put their minds in the right condition, then I have hell on my hands. But as long as we're
So I just wanna
confused, yeah, go ahead.
sorry to
I don't
cut
want
in. You know,
no, go right ahead.
I just wanna I wanna touch on the pineal gland.
Right.
And yes, you are right. I totally agree with you. Say, it has to be developed as a child, but it's not too late if you could do the necessary work. But you have to, like you said, do the research. Um, and upon my research, fluoride, fluoride would damage your pineal gland. Don't eat anything with fluoride. Toothpaste, things of that nature. The water that we drink from the tap water has fluoride in it. Um, I heard Billy Carson say, who I love so much. I'm inspired by him as well. He said that, and I drink one of them. I didn't even know that this was one of the top three. I guess I just was already in tune. He said Mountain, also Saratoga, and Fiji. Mountain and Saratoga, their bottles come in glass. And Fiji, that unfortunately it comes in plastic. But that's the water that I drink. Also, meditation. Meditation is a beautiful, 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 beautiful thing. The mind is so powerful. It'll take, it you and I'll drink to that.
I
I'll
say no
drink
more.
to
I'm listening.
that.
Okay.
Um, meditation, to be able to come in and just have a mindful meditation, a visual meditation, just to be able to clear your mind. But the what some people have a struggle with, me included sometimes, is to shut the noise up. And the mind is so powerful once you can be able to vibrate on a 432 hertz frequency. You can be able to manifest anything that you desire. That's the answer. I kind of threw that in. That was kind of my segue. Thank you, Paul. I'm about to show you his question. I was going into that, and then he said it. Where are we now to manifest ourselves? So how I manifested my life and how I'm going to continue to manifest, like I said, through meditation. Also, the power of water. The power of water is so powerful. So, for instance, dang, I wish I would known we was gonna be talking about this. I would have had my research together. There's a study. Everyone go out and research this when we get off this live, right? Go on YouTube and research the manifestation of water. Take how you could take 3 bowls of water. One water is going to be for good, one water is going to be bad, and one water you're just going to leave by itself. The water that you have that you feed into positive energy. I love you. Thank you, and you speak good affirmations into it, and put some rice in it, right? And close it, but speak to it. You don't have to open it. Just go to the glass, go to that water every day, and just speak to that glass. I love you. It's all positive things. You're so beautiful. Your bloom is so nice. Abundance, prosperity, right? Now go to the middle glass that has rice in it, close, and you say all bad things. I don't even want to say it on this podcast because I don't want to manifest that. Say all bad things, all dark things to that one, right? And then you go to the third one and you don't say nothing, just leave it alone, right? There is actual research. There's actual scientific proof, experiments that you can look on YouTube. For 30 days, the water that was speak to with positive energy, it bloomed so well, it smelled so nice. The water didn't spoil you, none things of that nature. But the water that was spoke to in such a bad manner, in such a negative tone, it was black, it was dark, it was gooky, milky, it was disgusting, and it stank and it ranked. The other one where the water was just left alone, by itself, it didn't manifest anything, and it didn't as far as like smelling good, and the rice didn't go bad, and it also didn't turn dark. So I said that to say, right, our body is made up of mostly water, right? So here we go with our thoughts. So the thoughts that we are manifesting, we are programming ourselves. Not only that, the world is mostly made of water, right? So what does the water do? It evaporates. We have all kind of energies and water floating around us from the evaporation, and what we speaking out into the atmosphere is being picked up by the water, and we are manifesting that. Yo, I don't think y'all understand. I just dropped a jewel on y'all. When I found that out, I told my kids first. I don't even know if they even understand that. I was like, I had to tell my kids, I had to tell someone, but I just dropped a major jewel on y'all. Not only that, there's another within that documentary. They show you how the vibrations. So they took sand and they played different beats, different vibration that actually made certain shapes. They did the same thing to the water. It made certain shapes. When the snow came down and it has a certain vibration, it makes certain shapes. So I'm saying that to say to y'all, my brother Paul and everyone else, water. The power of water. I didn't know how powerful this was. I mean, my godfather told me about the power of the water, and for me to trust the water a long time ago, I didn't understand it. But when I just happened to come across this experience, and I said, "Oh shit!" So I said that to say we are mostly made of water. What we are thinking and what we are what we are speaking, these are the things that we are manifesting over ourselves. So being that we are carrying the 50 to 20 generations of our ancestors memories, pain, trauma, things of that nature, so we're going to have certain habits in us. So if we speak those manifestations at least 21 days, 30 days, because after 21 days it becomes a habit, you start to decode and change your DNA. This is a scientific fact. If you don't believe me, please go research it. Speak affirmations of what you want over yourself. Paul is C Allah. Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. Um uh s- I digress. I'm doing lost my concentration. I'm doing so many things at one time. If you do this for 21 days, of course those negative thoughts going to come. Oh, maybe I can't do it, or this and that. No, think of something positive for at least 15 seconds. After you think of something positive for at least 15 seconds, that negative energy has no reason. It cannot live. The negative thoughts that try to deter you from manifesting your life, it cannot live with you. You cannot you won't be able to be a host to it anymore. I'm telling y'all, trust me, I just dropped that jewel on y'all. I gotta let it go after that. That's a jewel, that's a major jewel. And I always have my water. I have my bowl of water here to protect myself. I always bless the water. I ask the water what I wanted to do. Excuse me, and I'm gonna let brother. I'm gonna get back to brother Dean. I'm brother Saladin, but also your water take a marker. I didn't do it with this one because I just opened it because I had brushed in. Write what you want to manifest on your bottle. Charge your water. I'm telling y'all, it's so powerful. All right. The floor is yours. What do you have to say to that?
There's a lot to say, and I must refer to
No, I'm
uh
hold on one second. Paul,
yeah,
Brother Saladin knows you're here. I'm putting up all your comments. He knows you're here. Your comments is right here. He can see you.
yeah, okay. Yeah, I
I'm
see. Yeah, I
sorry.
see it. Yeah, some right. Absolutely right. There's a book, a famous book, As a Man Thinketh, So Is He. Absolutely. And that's P. Monroe. Absolutely. For the podcast audience out there, yes. As a man thinketh, or as a woman thinketh, so is he. So if you think, all of us was brought into this universe, this world, with a clean slate as a baby. We're not born murderers. We're not born thieves. The environment shaped that. They put the conditions there for us to come into a world and to learn these behaviors. That's why it's so important that when you have children, they're like a precious garden. And getting back to that water, you have to water it properly. It has to be in the right conditions, the atmospheric conditions. And so when you're dealing with water, as Sister Etoy said, the scientists say that 75% of our body contains water. We can't live here without water. And it's you see the comparison with the planet Earth. The planet Earth is covered underwater, three-fourths of its surface, 75%. And one-fourth of it is land. So there's more water on the planet Earth than there is land. Allah says, the creator of the heavens and the earth, says in the Quran, the book of the Muslims, and it compares with the Bible, that all life came here by way of water. That watery substance called the sperm, we can't get here without that watery substance. We can't get here without it. And it has to attach itself with the ovum, with the egg. So our very beginning, we came here by way of water. And we are in a universe, I'm talking about in the womb, and we begin to grow and fashion. We're in a bag of water. Just think over that for a moment. For 9 months. And those women know when it's time to deliver, usually the medical doctors or the nurses or the wet nurses, once they see the sign of water or the water broke, they know new life is going to emerge. Our whole existence is surrounded by water. We bathe in water. We use water for a number of things. We cannot exist without water. And some of us need to drink more water instead of all of these sodas and all of these chemicals. That has an adverse effect on how we think. Not even talking about damaging our kidneys, our liver, because a lot of these drinks, they're poisonous. I was talking with someone the other day, a great sister. I believe she's on the podcast. I know she is, God willing. We talked about Hawaiian punch and all these other drinks, and you look at the ingredients, it's not natural. They got red dye, number 5, number 6. If they open up your colon, you are consumed with dyes. Nothing is healthy about Coca-Cola and Pepsi, and many of us may drink it, and we find that it's tasty. But when you look at those ingredients, find what is healthy in Coca-Cola and Pepsi, and you'll discover it has no nutritional value. And some of us been drinking Pepsi and Coca-Cola for years, and then we wonder why we have diabetes. We wonder why our kidneys and our liver and all of these internal organs are failing us because it's not healthy. We have to get back to the basics. I remember reading a book years ago written by this great author. I picked it up in a health food store some years ago. He said that water is God's juice. Water is God's juice. You can't get water nowhere else unless it comes where? From the clouds. And there are societies now Their governments now, they want to control water because they realize when they control water, they control you. It is speculated what is going on in Gaza right now because they're situated near the Mediterranean. And there are governments now who want to control water. Because when they can control water, they can control you. They can control your electricity because most water is based upon when it's processed, electricity. And we had
Hmm.
in our teachings, most those of us who might be listening to the student enrollment that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad gave us, said that 23 million, the original man controls 23 million square water. Talking about water. We're talking about land. We're talking about the controlling of water. When you control water, you could control people's destiny. Water is so
Hmm.
important. And
Someone
that's why,
someone
yeah, go ahead.
text me. So, hold that thought for 1 second. Someone
Yeah.
text me. I guess so they see dialing for questions or comments to the number. Um, put your comment if you don't want to call, put your comment right here where the video is at. But they text. I don't know who it is because I can't say your name. Because I don't know the number. Well, I have the number. I don't want to say it. You are what you eat. Corporate greed pushes bad products. We have someone watching commented that. Thank you so kindly for that comment. So if you want to dial in, you could call the number. But if you just want to text, your comment or a question, just put it right here in the chat so we all can see. You could be a part of the conversation. Thank you.
Yeah, corporate greed. Yeah, that's nothing new. Corporate greed don't have a soul. They just want you to buy the product. I read a book recently called Stolen Focus. And in that book, the author said that our waking hour, wherever when we sleep, corporate interest is trying to figure out a way to get in our pockets. They call it uh what's that term in the book? Economic surveillance. That they want to create new gadgets, new things for us to play with for the next 15, 20 years. And because of us not being happy on who we are, we think that we get happiness buying things like that, or maybe drinking things or eating things. But what's more important, I'm not minimizing eating the proper foods, but sometimes we may consume the wrong mental foods, which is just as dangerous. So we have to be on guard for, as the person called in or wrote in, yeah, corporate interests don't have a soul. They don't care. They don't care whether or not it's detrimental to your health. They just want you to buy it. It's almost like when you buy cigarettes, right? At one time, the tobacco industry lied for a number of years. They said tobacco is not unhealthy. Keep smoking. And then they were brought before Congress, which they lied again, and then they were forced to put the warning label on the side. There's no nutritional value, particularly the tobacco that we use today, right? So, and then you see all these ads talking about corporate, alive with pleasure, Newport, and you see all these beautiful people with beautiful teeth. Yeah, you keep smoking for 20, 30, 40 years. You see whether or not you're going to have white teeth. You're going to see whether or not you have pink lungs. Corporate interests don't have a soul. Their vested interest is for those who are consumers. And they're turning our children also in consumers. They're working daily because they want, the bottom line is, I don't want to prolong this, it's the profit margin that they care about. They don't give a damn about whether or not it's unhealthy or they don't care. They just want to keep ringing the register. And we don't have enough sense to stop supporting these corporations. So at the end of the day, be observant on what you're eating, what you're drinking, what you're consuming mentally. And I've used this criteria, and I'm quite sure those who might be listening, and I hope they keep listening to this podcast. We should look at life two arrows, one going up, one going down. The up arrow should be what causes the information that I'm receiving I can rise to the highest consciousness level. The finger that's going down, that's bringing my soul, my spirit, and bringing me down on the lower level. So when we watch certain programs on TV, when we go to the movie theater, we should use that criteria. The finger
Ashe,
up,
that's what
the
I wanted
finger
to get
down.
into.
Okay? When we leave, how did this enhance your spirit? While we laugh, while we eat our popcorn and that big jumbo soda. Okay? How is it going to rise the conscious level? We should use that criteria everywhere. How does it enhance us or bring us at a low state of existence spiritually? Because most of our problems, I've said this since I've been on this podcast, is from the neck up. When we go to the movie theater, when we listen to certain podcasts, when we listen to people denigrate our people, make fun of our ancestors, mock us, then how is that enhancing your spirituality? I get it. We can walk and chew gum at the same time, but we got a lot of pressing issues out there, brothers and sisters. We really do. Politically, I don't even want to get into the political climate that we're in right now because we're so much involved in these quote unquote two rappers who I'm not going to mention their name. They're going back and forth, and many of us are observing this duel, so to speak. And we got other pressing problems. Can we eat them? When I say eat them, can you go to the bank with them and pay your mortgage, your rent? Can you go to the grocery store, getting yourself involved in beefs? Because now we take on these beefs. We don't even know these people. Many of us don't know these rappers, these basketball players, these football players. I'm not against sports and entertainment, but we got to ask ourselves: their beef becomes our beef, and it's all corporate inspired. Because that who at the end of the day is ringing the cash register. I keep saying the cash register. That's the old fashioned saying, but who's going to the bank? Who's laughing going to the bank? We have been made the laughing stock of the world, and I'm going to stay on this topic: restorative spirit. We must restore ourselves. We have to do it individually as well as collectively. Nobody's going to do it but us. No one is going to do it but us.
And I agree. And I totally agree with that. Um, and from my experience, one of the ways we can restore our spirit is by ancestor veneration. Like I said, from my journey, my spiritual journey, and one thing I like about the ATRs, one thing I like about African spirituality is mainly about healing yourself. Is mainly about looking within yourself. Is mainly about knowing who you are, your highest self, connecting with yourself. Because we'll go throughout this whole life, like a slave. We may not be in shackles right now, but we still if you and this is not please don't misconstrue when I'm saying um I cannot work for somebody 10 to 12 hours a day and then come home and don't have no energy for me or for my children. That means I'm being slave to that corporation. It means to me that I'm being slaved, to that job or to that entity. That's me, you know. Um and how I knew that about myself, because we're talking about restorative spirit, and we're talking about the how we are carrying the pains and memories of our ancestors for 15 to 20 generations. I learned from my from one of my cousins, my older cousins. He's in his 70s. He was giving me some history, and he told me how one of my ancestors, she killed one of our slave masters, shout out to being a slave. And I understand, that a little part of me, why I feel like I can't work 10 to 12, 15 hours a day for somebody. Well, it could be good money and everything, but it's my peace. My peace, is worth so much more. So I say start with yourself. Start with yourself. What resonate with you? What makes your spirit sing? What makes your soul sing? when you if you could walk into a room and if your energy is thrown off or someone come around you or and your energy is just thrown off, that means that that's your antennas that's going up. So what makes you feel good? That's the thing that my ancestors always tell me. You represent us, and how you going to heal us is by healing yourself. They always told me that. Believe in yourself. Stop doubting yourself. So I say start with self. Start with self. And you know, I always say to y'all every podcast, are you doing what that you love to do? I heard someone, an old coworker, tell a youth, I'm at my old job. They had wanted to be a CEO. They didn't like the job that they had, and I heard this coworker say, "Well, I ain't working my dream job, so I have to do what I have to do." I didn't say anything, because I had just got there at that time. I just was like, I didn't like
Mhm.
that response.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Because you're putting your limiting beliefs on this youth here. You feel me? You're
Mhm.
putting your
Absolutely.
limiting beliefs just because you're not working your dream job does not mean that he can work his dream job eventually. Eventually. You understand what I'm trying to say? So it's just like
Mhm.
you're shooting him down and you're training him and closing his pineal gland at such a young age. So it's just like
Well,
are you
mhm.
and I always say it's not too late. Go ahead.
Well, some people
Yeah,
don't
you had a
know.
question, you had a comment?
Oh, me? Or you got somebody out there that got a question? No,
Yeah.
you have to. In order for you
No,
to,
you.
in order for you to know the values of something, you have to know the value of something. When you mention the pineal gland, we mentioned the soul, the spirit. These are things that, for some of us, are beyond our reach. Okay, but we knew people. That's why the word is so important. We came from an era where after uh, Jim Crow,
I'm sorry, I gotta
we were
jump in. I gotta disagree with that one. I gotta disagree with that one. I
okay.
gotta
All
jump
right.
in. I gotta jump in.
All right.
I'm so sorry.
Right.
I kinda disagree with that because you said it's out of our reach. It's out of our reach to an extent. But here I go back to my ancestors again, or to your ancestors. Um, if your ancestors feel that, and if they want you to wake up, you're going to get woken up. And I feel what you mean as far as it's out of our reach, but you say us as a community, we got to do the work. So we have to put that message out there. We have to make sure that it gets to everyone's reach, even if they do not, if it even doesn't resonate with them yet. Let the seed be planted with them, and it's so much other seeds planted and negative seeds planted in individuals every single day. So we have to start planting the positive seeds so that their consciousness can be awakened. So they can have the reach. That's the only reason why I say that I kind of disagree with that one because everyone has it in them. Every single person has it in them. So if it's at their reach, I believe if they really want to do it, and it sits right in their spirit, and they answer to just slapping them all across the head, and God say, "Boop, it's time for you to sit down because this is what you need to do." I believe that if they stick to it, you know, it can happen for them and any and everybody. And I say that because it happened for me. I was down. I was such a pessimist, and I had certain beliefs, and my mind was so closed. And when God sat me down and said, "This is what you need to do," and I still didn't. I still fought every second of the way, and every time I kept hitting that brick wall, brick wall, brick wall, brick wall, I'm like, okay, I think I need to sit down and listen. That's the reason why I
Mm.
said I'm so sorry. I just had to say that.
No, no problem.
I had to get
We're
that
gonna
in there.
disagree as long we. Yeah, but it still takes an action on our part. See, everything is based upon intent.
Yes, the action. Yes,
It still has to.
yes.
It's something that requires of us. We have to make the proper connection, but it still requires an action on our part. because some things can sit dormant for years, and sometimes it may take someone or
Mm,
something that happened in your life to spark something to cause you now to move. Most wise
mm-hmm,
leaders that emerged among our people had to fill a void but spark something in us. We all have a spirit, we all have a soul, we all have a mind, we all have a consciousness, but it's dormant. Someone has to m- move us gradually. Some of us are like a speedboat. It don't take much. And some of us is like that ocean liner. We have to ask ourselves which boat or which ship is going to move faster, the speedboat or the ocean liner. Many of us are like the ocean liner because it can make a turn, but it's going to make a slow turn. And so there are a lot of things that are dormant. That's why we have to be very careful who we entrust our minds to. We have to be very careful on who we entrust our consciousness to. I'm talking about feeding your soul, feeding your spirit. Okay? And sometimes we waste valuable time. And it's only when we get older, past 40, we realize that every day I breathe on this planet, it's special. And let me say this before I forget this to those who are listening out there. I hope you all continue to listen and share this podcast with others because that's how it grows. I know there's some out there, even if it's one. Say, you know what? Look at the earth. The earth is a ball. We're all on a ball called the earth. It's 24,896 miles, approximately 25,000 miles in circumference. We're on a ball. And I know some people say, well, you guys, y'all failed. Y'all failed us. I'm talking about in the way of leadership. Y'all failed us. Y'all didn't do what y'all needed to do. That's why we're in this condition that we are in. Well, guess what? We're on a ball, and think of you're in a schoolyard and you say, I got next in a basketball court. Well, this generation, if you think that we made mistakes, we failed, which I don't believe, but some of you may take that position on this earth. We failed. You got next. It's your turn now. And you're going to fight the same fight that we fought. And when I say we, I'm talking about those of us from 1865 to now. If you think that we failed, your turn is coming now. You got the ball. It's in your court now. Because many of us sit on the sidelines and we condemn those who are in the spiritual fight. And we just sit back and we become keyboard revolutionaries. We sit back and we criticize. And let me say this to my brothers and sisters out there who belong to the Christian tradition. There's a difference between being a disciple and the multitude. Notice Jesus, peace be upon him, he had 12. He was teaching them. The multitude they were the audience. It's almost like you're going to a basketball game. You got the crowd. They didn't make any commitment. They didn't step forward. And that's the way many of us are. We are on the sidelines of life. And we're always finding fault. We find, well, Malcolm did this. Dr. King is a sellout. This one and that one. Well, if you can do it better, step up. Step up. Step up. If you think that we failed, and I don't believe we did, I'm going to keep saying that, then it's your turn to grab the ball. You got next. Okay? Because Allah says in the Quran that every nation has a turn. Every nation. So it's going to be your chance, young generation. You're next.
I remember me and you was talking a couple of years ago, and you told me you got next. You up next. It's time for you to make a difference. And I'm going to be honest with you. I felt so under pressure, so much under pressure. Oh, here we shout out to King Simon. I
Oh,
definitely
okay.
felt,
Oh, man.
so much under pressure. I'm like, oh my God, I'm up next. I am here. Like, you know, can I be able to do it? And that's when the anxiety. stepped in.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
King Simon says, we didn't fail, we just got redirected.
Absolutely. But I'm speaking to those critics.
Yeah,
Uh, that's who I'm
absolutely.
addressing to, that say, well, these leaders did
Yeah.
this, these groups did that. I could do a better job. Well, step up, and you're going to fight the same spiritual Goliath, the same enemies that denying us our humanity.
Mm,
They're waiting for you, because we're talking about a system. It doesn't matter. It's a system that has to be destroyed for us to restore our African culture, our values. It's in contradiction to this world system that we live under. The system has to be destroyed. It's almost like you're cleaning up your house and you see a spider web, but you don't see the spider. But the spider is somewhere in your house. And you can remove the web, know that he's creating, or she, the spider, is creating a web somewhere else. It's the system. And it's just ironic that we have what is called the World Wide Web. And little creatures get caught up in a web. And some of us spiritually are like those little creatures. It's not by accident they use the term the web, the website. Webs are things that little creatures get caught up. Okay? And that little creature, whether it's a bug, a roach, a fly, have a few minutes to get out of the entanglement of the web. They only got a few seconds because of
mm,
the vibration of the web. The spider knows his meal is there. And what does the spider does? It it stings you and suck out all of your insides. And that's why when we clean up in our house, we see all these bugs, but there's no insides. The spider sucked the insides. And that's what the social systems have done to many of us. Sucked our insides. And if they don't have your insides, they're coming for it. You have to
mm,
safeguard your soul, your spirit. You have to put, if you don't know the value of something, how can you safeguard
mm.
that? How? I'm not just talking about soul
I want
music
to, I want to, I
or
want to, I want
yeah,
to respond to
yeah,
that.
yeah. I'm sorry,
I want to respond
I'm
to
getting a
that.
little
You are
passionate here.
so right. No, no, I love it. I love it.
Okay,
And
I don't know
I
if you
want to
know.
respond to that because
Yeah.
you are so right. No, no. And I agree because when I'm on social media, I feel like I'm being pulled. I feel like my energy is just being drained. And then I was like, you know what? I have to get off of this and go back and restore my energy.
Mm-hmm.
So I just have to say I totally agree with that. But we how we always go over time. We have to come to a close. I want to know,
Yes.
do you have
Yes.
anything that you would like to say? Anything that a jewel you want to drop? Something, leave us with something. Take a few minutes because I know I know you get passionate and you get long winded.
Yes, yes,
you know,
and
um,
forgive me
but
for that, but I'm trying to get in
it's
as
okay.
much information in a short uh, period, and not making things too cerebral or too complicated with many of us. Because most of our leaders, they spoke to us in simplified terms, and they spoke to us in picture language. We all came here not knowing our parents' language, whether you're in China, Africa, I don't care where you are. You came in the world knowing nothing. And all you saw with the optics was your parents. You didn't know anything. All you saw was objects. And then when you begin to grow as a child, then you begin to learn what is called the alphabet system. And then we have pictures there, A, B, C, I don't care what language. They're still picture language, and you have to form these pictures or these letters and join them together and create words. But that's what we have to do in the spiritual realm. We come into a world, maybe 30, 40 years of our life on the planet, and then we run into a master teacher. You can't consume it all at once. They understand that the human mind is complicated. And so they put you through trial and error to see whether or not you can pass the exam. I came up when we had examinations. Those of us who went to school in the secular realm, you know, you don't have to pay attention. You don't have to. But what would be a deciding point in your life is when the examination is presented in front of you. Most master teachers would teach in a simplified form. They would teach in a picture language. Like Jesus, he taught in parables. Well, what is parables but picture language? Most wise teachers that emerge in the past and to the present were great storytellers, folklore. When we look at hieroglyphics, that's picture language. We come in the world learning picture language. But once we learn picture language, there is a higher reality, and that requires study on our part. It is not easy. We must dedicate our lives to study. If I never see you all again, you have to dedicate your life to the study of knowledge. And that's why the ancient ancestors, brothers and sisters, said, know thyself. Very simple, but complicated for many of us because many of us don't want to take the time to go out there and buy the books. And let me say this real quick. This issue about Florida and other states banning books, I told brothers and sisters before, we have self-banned books. Those authors that I mentioned earlier, some of these books are still in warehouses, if they're still around. They invested their money. They practically lost their eyesight. They debated scholars who think that we are just nothing but subhuman. And they debated and they put things on paper for us to read. We're still talking about the restoration of us. To restore us, we have to come into a knowledge of self, a knowledge of our history, and know those who deprive us of our humanity to this very, very day. We have to do it. We leaving it to another generation. And it may be, one scholar says, I think it was Walter Rodney that wrote How Europe Undeveloped Africa. He said, I think it was him. He said that for our neglect, we pass on our unwillingness to another generation. We're wasting time. We're wasting valuable time. And so that's all I have to say. May, may the Creator bless each and every one of us. I hope and pray that those of you who are listening on this
Well,
podcast, yeah, yeah.
Paul, I'm not sure if you pay attention to the comments when I put them up. But Paul says, Sister Etoy and
Yes.
beloved Elijah Muhammad, Elijah Saladin, peace and
Oh boy.
blessings. See
Yes.
Allah. Let's
Yes.
continue with the cipher, and I do know we are going in the right direction. You know.
Oh man, that's great. See, see,
So
see, Allah.
maybe
Yeah, go ahead.
if you feel like talking for a few more minutes,
Okay.
if
I mean, that's up to
if
you.
you
I
feel
mean,
like
because
talking for a few more minutes, it's
yeah,
up to you.
because I
We
wanna.
can.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, go ahead.
I
Go
don't
ahead.
I don't like I don't want to bore the audience because we all have like an
No,
attention
no,
span,
no.
but this is
Yeah,
some great knowledge, and this is you know this
yeah,
is
yeah.
your
This is
your last
information.
your third show, your last show with me
I don't
until
know
you
about
come
that.
back
I don't know
a
about that.
few
We'll talk
shows
about that.
later.
We'll talk
Hint,
about that.
hint,
Yeah,
hint,
yeah.
hint. Oh, you don't know about that?
Yeah. Like I said again, because I I don't know
Okay.
about that because each
All
one,
right.
each one, and let me say to those who are listening out there, we love you. We love our people. Some of this we have to
Ashe.
be patient with our people, just like people were patient with us. And those of you who are inspired by this podcast, some of you are already inspired. You just, need more inspiration. You know, share it with others. Share what you know. Don't leave this planet because guess what? At the end of the day, there's no ATM machine. Nothing for sale in the graveyard. Nothing for sale. We are just on the journey on this
Mm.
ball called the earth for a short time. We must continue the struggle. We must restore the damage done to us. You know, when I talked about the last two podcasts, and I speak to other brothers, because there are books written by many different scholars that talk about reparations. Reparations is restoring damage done. It's, yeah, I get it. Some of you say, well, yeah, if Uncle Sam only give me a check. That's not repairing your damage. That's only providing a need, you know, for material things. But reparations meaning repairing damage. The U.S. Constitution didn't do that. The Congress and the Senate, then and now, didn't do it. Dr. King said these words. He said, we must write with our own pen, our own hand, our emancipation. Go look it up. It's on YouTube. Dr. King said that. We have to, with our own hands, our own spirit, produce our own freedom document. Because as long as we think that the government is going to do it, a spiritual leader, yeah, the spiritual leaders could do it if they have your best interests. Many of these leaders, I'm talking about spiritual leaders, don't even tell the people they love them. All they care about is to be served. If you are a minister, a rabbi, an imam, or a guru teacher, you're supposed to serve others. It shouldn't be where it's the other way around. They're serving you. No prophet from Abraham to Muhammad, peace be upon them all, serve the people. Well, you may say, well, I'm not religious. Well, did Malcolm X, God rest his soul, he served the people. He didn't have the people serve him. He served the people. Dr. King, he didn't have the people serve him. He served the people. And there are many others, men and women who were servants of the Most High and servants of the people. They served us. But now these leaders today, they want you to serve them. They want you to buy them the next Bentley and Rolls Royce and buy them another mansion. We're being deceived, brothers and sisters. And we're talking about restoring the spirit. Put yourself in touch with the people who are restoring you. Yes, you have to do it on your own. But sometimes we're dormant. Sometimes we need somebody to spark that in us. And by sparking that in us, it rejuvenates our soul.
Mm-hmm.
We have
I
to do
say.
it. And I
I
say this
say.
as a I say this, Sister Etoy, and to those who are listening, there were brothers in my community who had an interest in young brothers, such as myself. We were wayward. We were deaf, dumb, and blind. We were in darkness spiritually. But they took out the time, and these were grown men. They already had their own families. But they took the time to sit on the bench with us to teach us and preparing us for manhood. Because,
Mm,
at the end of the day, we're still talking about restoring the spirit of a people. We have to go through a rites of passage. In Kemet, we had that. Men or boys had to, boys are men in certain societies at 13. And some of us in our 30s and 40s, we're still not men yet. We might be men biologically, what's below the waistline, but are we men from the neck up? Particularly if you're still playing with
mm-hmm.
toys. Like we used to play with the Tonka toys. Well, the toys today are the big cars. Some of us ain't going nowhere. Just run up the avenue playing loud music. Ain't going nowhere. But they want to show the women. They want to show people, I got this Mercedes Benz. You ain't going nowhere. That became the toy because we put more value in material things. So if I never see you all again, which I hope, inshallah, that means God willing,
Mm,
let's read books. Read books. Make that your desire to want to know.
I say.
You have to want to know. Most of our great leaders didn't even have, some
I
of them
say.
didn't even have college education, but they had the desire and the thirst for knowledge. And our ancestors that left the plantation, they knew that education was the key to make it in America. I'm talking about the ancestors that the chains was taken literally off of them, and the master said, "Get out of here. You're free now." Free to do what? So their precious commodity was knowledge, educating, reading, and writing. They knew that that was life or death. But today, many of us, you know, so what? I don't have to get knowledge. I'll rely on this podcast, or I'll rely on this without doing some research. Because I could be lying to you. You got to do some fact checking. You got to do fact checking. You got to open up the books. You got to
Mm-hmm.
spend a little bit of money. Okay. Okay. And do that. But if I never see you all again, which I hope I will, make knowledge a lost property that you have to find. I don't know if I went too long. I mean, it's not, but
Ashe.
please make that your
No, you
journey.
good.
And please share this podcast with other
It's
brothers
so
and sisters. Please
yes,
do
share
that.
this podcast, please.
Please. So I guess I'm done
I
speaking. There's somebody else. This is
want
my
to
brother.
say it's so yes to say goodbye. I don't want to see you go. But I'm
But
just so happy. I'm just so happy to have you in my life. I want everyone to know, everyone that's still here, thank you. I want everyone to know that this man was a major pillar in my life. Um, he used to gift me books. I have a library. He started my library. I was always inquisitive. I was always, seeking knowledge. It just so happens that our path had ran into each other, over 20 years. It was it 20 years ago? At least? No.
it
15? Maybe 15 years ago?
could be 15, could be 15, because it was a time in which, remember, I used to,
Yeah, about 15.
yeah, because when I was off from school as the dean of the school, remember I used to come. Yeah, it's about 15. Yeah, time flies. Time flies. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's around 15. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
about 15. Yeah, it really does. And he used to always hold, conversations and lectures like this. He should trigger a lot of people, but that's because he was talking the truth. And he used to trigger people that wasn't the same color of us. you know, um, that's who he used to trigger. And I used to just always sit there as a student, and he used to always say, I used to always say, research.
Right,
Listen to what I'm saying. Go double check what I'm saying.
right.
And I remember you gifted me the Superman from Superman to
Command.
Man by J.A.
Yes,
Rogers.
very good.
Um,
Yes,
you
yes,
gifted me the Willie. Yep, the Willie Lynch letter. I
yes,
actually had the part two to that, breaking the curse of the Willie Lynch letter. So I want to
yes.
say thank you for being such an inspiration, being such a pillar. I'm so glad that our paths, ran into each other again. This is not a coincidence. This is made up in the
Mm.
stars. You came to this earth to be our guide and to be our leader. And many people have told you to start your podcast. And I'm going to push you. And I want everyone to send him a message to start his
uh,
podcast. Start your podcast, please.
I,
You have to take it
I,
to the next level.
yeah, yeah,
Please start your
perhaps,
podcast.
perhaps. But I'm a reader. I'm an researcher, and I'm doing so many things. But I may consider it. Some things, a seed is usually germinates in the soil, in the darkness, and then it comes out. Some of us have to be like that seed in the darkness, unaware, and making impact on other people's lives. And that brother and others who made mention on the comments, I knew these brothers and sisters,
Hmm.
if they listening, for over 40 years. We were teenagers coming into the knowledge of ourselves. And that's why it's so important that we get the young. The social structure knew damn well what they was doing when they derailed the rap culture. I didn't say hip hop. I said the rap culture. The social structure knew because they saw us rising. with those beautiful lyrics of the original people, the knowledge of self, that Kemet was the birthplace of man. The social structure, the producers, the corporate interests said we don't want young people to know that. And you know who else they didn't want to know? They didn't want their own, the Caucasian young brothers and sisters to know that. Because now they will have a love and respect for us, that their humanity began with us. That the mother of civilization, yes, scripturally says Eve, but guess what? Eve in the Bible said the mother of all living. Well, if she's the mother of all living, then she's the mother of Russia, Russians. She's the mother of Britain. She's the mother of France, the mother of all living. They didn't want that message being propagated among our people. So they misdirected us and have us being involved in a death culture of death, of killing each other. And it's right now to the present, because I don't want to mention these two rappers. Many of you know who I'm talking about. They've been on the headlines. And eventually somebody's going to take another step. I hope it doesn't happen. But this is where we are. So I don't want to, I know it's 9:28, and that's it. I don't want to, I don't want to overburden the camel.
Um.
Yes.
Okay. Jay Blook said. Jay Blook said, "Start your podcast, brother.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank
Start
you.
your podcast." So I just want to say
Thank
thank
you.
you again.
Thank
I'm
you.
gonna call you.
Yeah, call me in a few minutes
So
when you shut.
so we
Yeah.
could talk.
Okay. Okay.
No
Okay.
problem. I'll call you in a few minutes after I shut
All
down.
right.
I just want to say thank
All
you
right.
again. I appreciate you.
Peace. All right.
All right. Peace.
Peace.
Peace. Yes. That was another great conversation with my mentor, ElHajj Saladin. Um, my other he hates when I say that. My other mentor, King Simon, hates when I say mentor. It's for I can't get the wording right now. I don't want to misconstrue his words, but he had a whole meaning behind that. He was on my first season, so hopefully he'll be back on this second season. I have to hit him up. He's the numerator. Yes. He's into numbers and he could read you just from your birthday. He was on here. He made a comment. So shout out to King Simon. So yes, restorative spirit. This conversation was about restoring your spirit. There's a lot of great conversation that was going on. If you missed it, please, start from the beginning. There's a lot of information. And like I said before, start with your ancestors. Brother Saladin said, start with your education, which is very, very, very true. Things of that nature. We have a slew of modalities that we can be able to use to restore us, our cleansing our and open up our pineal gland, the power of water, the power of now. Shout out to my sacred sister on my Asneb head, Crystal. She put me onto this book called The Power of Now. That book is so powerful. Just to stay in the present, because the present is all we have, stay in the present moment. Yeah, I digress. I hear myself saying like I said, I always say, you're gonna see me laugh, you're gonna see me cry, you're gonna see me make mistakes, you're gonna hear my birds chirp in the background, you're gonna hear my dog bark. I'll no longer uh build my life over perfection, because I have built a prison for myself of perfection. So I just want to say thank you so kindly. Um, Thank you so much for tuning in. Please like, share, subscribe. This is my second season, and this is my first time ever saying that. I forgot. I'm just so into just trying to get the message out and just trying, work along my internet connection, because I'm over here by the airport, and the airport just takes over, and we having my connections janky, but I do not care, because I'm going to get this message out. Okay. So, what I always say, what have you done for yourself today? Have you said yes to yourself today? Every day we got to get up and we got to do a whole bunch of things for everyone else. Of course, we have to work because we have to survive. We have to pay bills. We have to take care of ourselves, our loved ones. If we have children, things of that nature, we have to eat. You got to eat. You got to have a roof over your head. Helping someone mission go along. What did you do for you? Did you do anything that you didn't want to do for someone else? Did you? Sit there and think about that. Ask yourself that question. Did you? Did you say no to yourself and yes to them? When you say no to yourself and yes to something else, you take power away from yourself. Next time you do that, see how your spirit feels. See if you feel drained or do you feel fulfilled. Check with your emotion. Don't judge it, but just observe it. And I say to you all, and I say this at every podcast, I challenge you. I challenge you to do something for you. I challenge you to say yes to you. What is that one thing? I don't care how old you are. What is that one thing that you always wanted to do, but you always made an excuse? I'm too old. Time passed. I don't have enough money. I'm not going to have support. What did you do? What can you do? What do you want to do for yourself? I say start where you are. Start where you are. Peace, Ilflix. That's my photographer there. He's gonna be doing my documentary. Everybody follow him, illflix.com. Yeah, do something for yourself. For instance, I did my interview with Ilflix. It was a short little document, a short little interview, and he filmed it and he did my photo shoot. That was for me. That made me feel good to talk about my story. No matter how much of an insecurity I was because I stutter, that was passed down from my ancestors. I'm going to stutter. I have to accept that of myself. Sometimes I'm a little camera shy. You know, I used to have stage fright, but after I had that nervous breakdown, I said I have to talk about mental health, and I said fuck anxiety, and I wrote a poem about it, and it's called "Fuck Anxiety." And if I wouldn't have said yes to myself, you all wouldn't be sitting here watching this right now. So I just want to say thank you. Thank you for the support. Thank you for always returning. Yes, we should definitely drop that soon. We should definitely get that started again. Thank you for the support. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for the love. Like I said before, like, share, subscribe. But most importantly, because I'm here to serve, what have you done for yourself? And if you didn't do something for yourself today, it's only 9:35. The day ain't over. I challenge you to do something for yourself. So that'll be all. And I'll see you guys next week. Same time, same channel. Peace.